Okay, thank you for coming to my presentation. I am going to tell you a little bit about Strike48 and agent fidelity. The goal of my talk is not to pimp our solution, but to sort of explore some of the things that we have learned in our AI journey. I kind of try to be really clear. This is not about sort of selling magic beans or silver bullets. Some vendors seem to feel like a simple agent solution has all the answers. I'm not disparaging them. Maybe they have got some secret sauce we don't, but that has not been the reality of our journey. And so I'm trying to sort of walk you through kind of what we've seen, how it's gone, what we think is important, what are the pitfalls. I'm going to start just with a little confession. I've been in the security space 30 years. And no joke, last week I fell for the fake invoice phishing campaign. So this is a newly wiped laptop, and hopefully it will have everything we need. Okay, so I was in New York at an AI conference, and I saw this literally on the subway. I snapped these pictures because I thought it was relatively insightful, because at the time it was a big conference, there were a lot of ads running AI related, and literally you can kind of see that's like the side of the subway right there, and the caption was, one prompt, job done, right? I don't want to say they're liars, but I guarantee you they're not solving IT use cases, because that does not work. That does not fly. Maybe it works for spreadsheets, but it's definitely not the reality if you're trying to deliver fidelity, not just fidelity, but also precision. I talk a lot about precision. I'll have a few slides on this because when you demo solutions, be careful. Unless you know more than the agent, it always seems like it's giving you good information, right? I am a beekeeper, and I often have conversations with my ChatGPT, and I'll say, what's going to be blooming, in a month from now for my bees? And I've had a conversation sort of, what's blooming in July? And it will say, oh, well, you're in Southern California, you should have a lot of eucalyptus. And I'm like, well, actually, there are no eucalyptus around me. I have a ton of California buckwheat. And ChatGPT will say to me, oh, my apologies, you're right. Around you, it's California buckwheat. And I've seen that same dynamic play out in the SOC. And that may be cool for me as a beekeeper where the stakes aren't high, but in the SOC, it doesn't fly. Fundamentally, misunderstanding what AI is good at and bad at can be dangerous. There was this Business Insider story a while ago, probably less than 3 months ago, and now we've got Hugging Face. There are enough stories like this where AI runs wild that this isn't honestly something I have to sell to people anymore. But what this means for us in the SOC, or our solution, and we work well beyond just the SOC and the NOC and DevOps, whatever, OT, is you have to think through the use case, right? It's not just about, an AI is a proxy for intelligence, right? That's what we were trying to do. We were trying to create the human proxy for a human. But think about how many tasks in IT where you hire a new employee and you sit him down and you say, think deeply. That's like 0.1%. Most of the time you're like, hey buddy, here's the list, the 10 things I want you to do. I want them done in that order, right? And maybe between steps 4 and 5, there's a little thinking, and I want you to think, and I want you to use intuition. That's why the buddy sitting next to you who's been at here 6 months is faster at it than you are. But you're all on this same spreadsheet. So thinking that you're going to come in and just deploy your L1 agent is nuts. First of all, L1 as a task spans many different use cases, many different scenarios. And most of them are vastly deterministic. They're not think deeply jobs, and that is true across your IT. We've worked with people on the NOC and DevOps, and more often than not, We sit down with them and we're not selling magic beans. We're not selling silver bullets. We're like, let's work with you to understand this actual task before we start making agents, because it doesn't end up the way you want it to. And to be clear, our agents, they're no joke. This is a prompt. I've pulled it up from one of our agents. It's 18 pages. It's not like I'm just typing in, you're a SOC 1 agent and, answer all the questions right. These are well-written prompts with test cases, with guardrails, with knowledge sets, all that kind of stuff. And they will still not perform, they will still not produce the precision you will want against a wide range of issues. They're good co-pilots. They're good sit alongside your SOC 1, but they don't fundamentally replace people. They are aids, maybe, but this dynamic alone is not a solution. And you can see this, I sort of inserted this morning. This is a quote from an actual customer who was sitting alongside one of our agents, right? And they were like, hey, long story short, I had a long conversation with your agent, and it's calling me a liar. Do you know what I mean? And he was not lying, right? It just shows you, and it is a well-written agent. It shows you the limits of what you can do with this stuff, at least today. And it really comes down to this, the first, precision versus accuracy, right? They're always good in the demo. If you walk around, there are something like, I just read a story, there are over 45 companies in here selling agentic SOC. All their demos will look smoking hot. They will all look good. The agents are good at convincing you that. But if you know more than the agent and you're able to push back, often the house of cards collapse. The second thing is just not been tackled at all with the pure agent solution, which is repeatability. Like early in our journey, when we first rolled out our no-code agent builder for the SOC, I went to a customer, a Fortune 100, right? They were big users. They're really sophisticated people. And they were like, the guy's name was Luke. He was like, Tim, you're talking to me about the moon, about how this is going to automate everything. Dude, my bar is not up there. My bar is so low you can hardly trip over it. I just want to ask it the same question twice and get the same answer. And that was almost a year ago at this point, because it floored me. I remember it because my answer to him was, I can't give that to you, not with a pure agent solution. Other issue we're seeing is connectivity is key, right? A lot of what we see in the market today is very embedded solutions. Look, if you look across your IT stack, you're going to have the SOC, you're going to have NOC, you're going to have DevOps. You're going to have like 12 different magic quadrants. Gartner's divided it up, right? And you're going to have tool sets in each one of them. And each one of those tool sets is now trying to agentify, right? But there's no logic there. The fact is, agents can go well beyond that. And so we challenge customers to not only go on an agentic journey, but re-look at the whole stack. Why is it that you have a SOC looking at 80% of the same logs as your NOC, which is looking at 90% of the same logs as your compliance org? There are better solutions to this. And then finally, this is an issue we have gotten punched in the face on more than one time. The token issue is real. I wrote a LinkedIn post on this. These are real numbers. They're not fairy tales, and they're not numbers that make me look good, right? I posted them so you know it was real, right? This first customer, a mega university, they were in our early iteration of our solution, they were blowing through 2.8 billion tokens a week. A week. Because what they did was, this was back when we only had certain tools and we were trying to solve problems, so we gave them those tools and they were like pure agentic. We're like, great, we build them nice agents, multi-agents, agents upon agents, and then they say, okay, I want this structure to look at my alerts. They have over 1,000 alerts a day. Before we knew it, we charge on fixed price. My CEO, who's sitting right there, was calling me up, was like, what the F is going on? Do you know what I mean? We have one here that's 2.6 billion tokens, one 500 million. Those are weekly numbers. We have since solved that problem, but we were getting punched in the face. So don't, if you walk into one of these booths and they're like, Pure, we've got an agent, it's really cool, it's well-trained, it'll do all your L1. Honestly, sprinkle a huge grain of salt on top of that. Those were real customer numbers. Every one of them would be willing to talk to you. If you're like, Tim, I don't want to talk to a vendor, I want to talk to an end customer, I can get you in touch with every one of those customers. So what we did is we went and we sat down with these guys and we were like, what are you doing? Because we as a business can't live with you doing whatever you're doing. And they're like, well, we're trying to do L1 triage or OT, or there was a whole range of use cases in there. And we were like, okay, let's go through the list. Like L1, what does it mean to you? And what does it mean to you? And it means different things to each of these companies, right? And what's your list of 10? And on that list of 10, how much of it is really cognitive? Right? And by taking that approach and sort of embedding what we've sort of moved to what we call a micro-agent workflow, right? The typical agent you'll see out on the floor, it's got a chat interface, you're expected to go, you talk to it, you ask it a question, it produces an answer, it's like, wow, right? That's cool. But that agent, that's like an N8N, it's like a Claude Code kind of agent, right? It needs to be built so you can ask it anything. You could ask it who the President of the United States is. If it's clever, it'll say, I'm an L1 agent, I'm not going to answer that. But the point is, it's governed by basic guardrails, right? And it can't deliver precision, because the guardrails have to be relatively wide. So we built this structure where we embed a micro agent, an agent that you as a user are never going to talk to. You as a user view this whole flow as the agent. You think that's the agent because alert comes in, out pops the answer, it's cognitive, it's got all that intelligence wrapped into it, but the reality is 90% of it was done deterministically by scripts, by playbooks, by whatever, to keep token count low, to keep precision high. And then you can tweak it, right? That's the other thing, right? Like, again, I'm here at a conference. We do a lot of things, but we focus in this conference on agentic SOC. The first thing I tell everybody that comes to our booth is, here's my agentic SOC. It's total BS. It's total BS because it's not your agentic SOC, and you need it to be your agentic SOC. So the ability of this workflow versus just pure agents, the strength of it is you can start to tweak it. You can mold it to your needs. Pure token usage, though. Even in this structure, because again, this will be firing 1 million times, we still had high token churn, really high numbers. So we're again like, okay, what else can we do, right? And it's about tooling for the agent, right? Code mode is our internal sort of term for this. But what we've needed to do is give agents the ability to go beyond their own LLM capabilities. When they see a repetitive task, when they see something that they could generate JavaScript for and then run that 1,000 times as opposed to continually churning through tokens, give them that tool, allow them to do that. This has been transformative for us in any sort of report writing. You want your outputs to be JSON. You want all these kind of things. Actually, code mode takes a task that would have been maybe 1 million tokens and reduces it to effectively 0. The last thing I talk about is connectivity. Because again, I just really, I feel my hot take, if you will, if you're going to get a hot take from me, it's that every vendor out there that's embedding an agent into a native traditional solution, that's a waste of time. That's garbage. Maybe I'm wrong, like it's just one man's opinion, right? Like I'm only ever 51% sure of anything, so don't take that too aggressively. But I don't understand it, right? Like, what you can do with agents is only amplified by giving them more connectivity, right? If your L1 agent is embedded in your SIM, man, what are you doing, right? All your enrichment happens outside of your SIM. And by the way, you're only storing 1/10 of your logs in the SIM because it's so freaking expensive. Utilize your CrowdStrike, utilize your edge infrastructure, utilize your S3 buckets so you can deliver more telemetry to the agent and get a better outcome. But sort of if you're like, hey, I'm going to, and again, Splunk's an amazing company, it's dominated the space forever, so I don't want to besmirch them. But if they come to you and say, hey, listen, here's a Splunk ecosystem agentic solution, I'm pushing back. I'm saying, I don't want my agent to just run my Splunk. I want to solve my larger problem. So we have had to go through all sorts of modes of connectivity. And, okay, the soup du jour on connectivity is MCP. Mind-blowing technology, super powerful. But it's got its issues, man, right? All an MCP is an AI sitting on top of an API. So if you've got an agent talking to an MCP, what you've got is an agent talking to an agent over an API. That's a recipe for a lot of fuzziness. It's a recipe for a lot of token usage. And it gets the willies when you start to talk about certain use cases. So we were in a very large customer, and we sort of were really proud of ourselves. Look at our MCP library. We're really impressive, right? We can plug into all this kind of stuff. And they were like, whoa, Tim, slow down. Pump the brakes. I don't want to give my keys to production servers to your agents. That's not going to happen. Right? First, I want to be able to host my own MCPs when I feel it's appropriate. Second, sometimes I'm not comfortable with that connectivity at all. So we've had to build different solutions. We've had to build what we call gateways, which allow for, if you will, that on-prem connectivity. Allows you to do things like red teaming. It allows you to put a proxy in between an agent and your production servers. It allows you to exert that control you might want on a relatively rogue system. And if you don't, or a relatively non-deterministic system. And if you don't understand how important that is, seriously, just look at the news today. OpenAI is confessing again. Their AI went rogue and randomly hacked another set of companies. So connectivity, the power of connectivity is extensive, but it has to be fit to the nature of the agent you're enabling and the business problem you're trying to solve. So this is not theoretical stuff, right? I only have 2 more minutes. But I can take you through, first of all, I can get you with any number of customers that have gone on this journey with us. We have an unusual number of reference customers, people that can tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. We've had people on this journey with us for over a year, Fortune 100, Fortune 500, and they will tell you, yeah, it stunk a year ago. Here were the issues. Here's how we've worked through them. Here's the amount of resources we had to deploy, because they're not selling you a silver bullet. There are no magic beans. But the results can be impressive. We have a customer using it in their NOC. They have a 3-agent workflow. Previously, they had 23 full-time employees stretched between India, Spain, and the United States. Because they wanted to connect to production servers, they were uncomfortable with MCPs. So we had to use a gateway-based technology for them. And ultimately, we were able to deliver these results. Previously, they had a NOC issue once every 4 to 6 weeks. Since February, since the platform was in play, fully operational, they have not had a single one. They used to run at a cost of $843,000 per year. That now costs less than $1 a day. But before you run away saying, oh, Tim, he's just bragging, let me tell you the dark side of this. I said that they haven't had an issue since February. We rolled it out at the end of November, right? There were issues in January. There were issues, edge cases we hadn't thought through. We thought we were so gosh darn smart, but it is an evolution. Right? Even if you think you've done the work, built the right knowledge sets, pushed together the right agents, right? In this case, one of the issues was there was a mailbox nobody knew about. And when Amazon shut down a service, they sent it to this mailbox. Nobody saw the email because it hadn't been included as an edge case, and it was missed. That was a knock issue. So it's a lot of work, it's a lot of effort, but it can be really worth it. But I'm getting the what is it, the wind-up music, so I'm ending here. Anyway, my name is Tim Leehealey. Thank you very much for your time. Let me know if there's any questions I can answer.